Welcome back, everybody. This is Pro Football Enterprises. That's Austin Freed. That is Shane Ratliff. I am Ben Parker, and it is a privilege to have all of you with us. I assume most of you watching are New York Jets fans, but maybe other people have dropped in as well just to get a feel for what we're talking about. Want to tell you again, for those of you who haven't seen us do it the way we like to do it, we're not trying to predict what the Jets are going to do. We're taking over the job for the night. We're doing what we would do for the Jets. Okay. We won't go through all 7 rounds. We'll go through the first 4 or 5 rounds. It's basically what we do. One guy tonight at Shane will act as general manager for the evening. The other 2 guys at each selection will offer our opinions on who we like based on what's available. Okay. So we're not doing a lot of conversation, but we are kind of running through just some scenarios and what we might do with that. So that's the way we have it set up. And we have really enjoyed it, and this is a lot of fun. So here we go. Shane, you are acting Jets general manager for the evening. Go ahead and tell us on the outlook, kind of what you're hoping to maybe get done tonight. And then me and Austin will start working our way through each pick.
Well, I mean, you're on a hot seat as a Jets GM. It's not a job you're going to get to hold for a very long time. So I also think just looking at the draft simulator, all these simulators give you a breakdown of, team needs. The Jets, they could just say everybody. I mean, Rory McIlroy has 2 Masters since the last Jets interception. All teams in New York have made it to the playoffs besides the Jets. It's not going great for them. You're going back to a quarterback that didn't work out for you the first time, so there's some room for improvement as a Jets GM. For me, I think you have to look early on the defensive side of the ball, which for a draft like this, I think you have some spots where you can make some decisions on that. Uh, Wide receiver is another big one. In my mind, I think you look end, wide receiver, and then probably linebacker after that. So, I mean, those are the top 3 spots I look for. I think offensively, we still need help as well. But I think with a defensive coach, sometimes it's just easier to feed into that and then try to
Yeah.
make it up on the back end, especially if you think you're not going to be great again. If we're looking for a quarterback later on, then you have the option to look for that in the next year.
One thing we won't do tonight is trade back. I'm sure the Jets would be open to it come draft night, especially if they can pick up another, pick for the 27 draft. I'm sure they'd be wide open to it. How many teams are actually going to want to move up to number 2 and make us, kind of a real good offer? I'm not sure. So we'll see about that. But we won't do that tonight. But just I'm sure somebody in the audience is thinking about that. Okay, Austin, we've got some of our marching orders here, and we're sitting here with the number 2 pick. No surprises. We kind of sort of already know Mendoza's going to be gone. We should have our pick. We're basically the first pick, as it were. So Austin, go ahead and take it away here.
Yeah, so this pick is just going to come down to 2 guys. Well, 3 if you're a David Bailey enjoyer. But for me, it's between Arvel Reese and Ruben Bain Jr. Those are the 2 highest graded players that can play edge. And I say can play edge because neither of them are going to just take all of their snaps at edge rusher like David Bailey would. David Bailey
Right.
will literally line up on the edge as a defensive end every single snap that he's on the field for and do almost nothing but try and go sack the quarterback. Reese and Ruben Bain are much more diverse, let's say, where I think Reese actually is better as a stand up off on ball or off ball linebacker than on the line of scrimmage as an edge. And I think Ruben Bain, one thing that lets him excel is his ability to move all over the line, slide on the inside, go way out wide, and have success at any of those spots. So it really depends on which of those you prefer. Do you want the guy who's going to do a little more stand up off ball backer stuff for you, or do you want the guy who's going to be able to slide around the offensive line for you? They're both, I think, are good edge prospects. Neither of them super crazy dominant edge prospects, but both very, very good and have a lot of other utility that makes them worth the second pick.
All right, fair enough. For me, Austin, I think you're right about what's going to happen. Just me personally talking here tonight, I've got about four guys I'm fine with, and that goes from David Bailey, the edger, to Arvell Reese, to Sonny Styles, to even well, Sonny Styles, who we both love, and then to Ruben Bain, who you mentioned as well. Though, if I got any of those four guys, I'm actually very happy myself. I think out of those, Arvell Reese, I just like the athletic profile and the explosiveness. And even if he never turns into a top edge rusher, I love the ability that he has to blow up the run game and blow out the screens and the sweeps. And then I like his ability in space, even though I'm still a little bit questionable about his pass coverage. I do love adding that kind of athleticism. So I think I'll go Reese here. But man, I've actually got Sonny Styles rated just a hair higher. So if I had any support in the room, and I don't mean this room, but in the real Jets room, if I had any support for Sonny Styles movement, I'd be hopping on that bandwagon as well. But I'm not going to fight for it because I know some people that don't want pure linebackers drafted this high. So I get that. The Bailey thing, I'm all on board with if we just understand what Austin said. He's QB only and kind of a liability in the run game as far as I'm concerned. I know not everybody agrees with that, but the tape I watched, I didn't like his work in the run game. So I think I'll go Reese here, but I'm happy with any of those four. Shane, back to you, your thoughts, and make the pick.
So I stick right with you guys. I think Reese is the pick to make. I will say, I think in real life, the Jets are going to make this mistake. I do think they're going to go David Bailey here. But
Really?
for what we say, I think Reese is the better choice. Austin talked about it before in his breakdown of Reese. He's a guy that you're not going to play on the edge the whole time. He probably is a better stand-up backer for you, but what he can do cannot be duplicated by the other guys that you're going to look in this spot. So I think Reese gives you a talented defender right away, somebody who you can play either as the defensive end or at the outside linebacker spot, and you're going to get production from either way. I also think there's a higher upside for him than the other guys you were talking about. Ruben Bain now has some questions about things that have happened in his past. I think that's going to hurt his draft. So I think there's really only two people to go here, and I think Reese is the best pick for us. Like I said, I do think in real world, David Bailey comes off the board to them, and I think the Jets regret it.
All right, so we'll make the Arvell Reese pick, and I'm going to talk for just a second while the computer summarizes our next pick. Um, I gotta say, I am so old now, and I've been watching football for so many decades. I'd have to fact check myself on this, but I think this is at least the third time I've seen the Jets franchise have a whole passel full of top draft picks, and the fan base kind of be a little excited because you kind of get a chance to reset and them do nothing with it. I mean, I think it's at least the third time that that has happened. And so my point to that is I love that they've got these draft picks and it's a lot of fun to play with. And there's really no way they come away with players that nobody likes, right? Everybody's going to like the fact that they got some players, but it really is going to matter what the coaching staff does with them over the next couple of seasons. That's really the point. The coaching staff has got to figure out a way to scheme these guys up, to get them developed, to get them in the right spots. And that's really what's going to make the difference for this franchise. High draft picks or no draft picks. So we're not going to do the trades tonight, but that obviously they're going to have some attention. All right, we're sitting here at 16. So Austin, I can go to any position group you want. Maybe you already see the guy you want. So you take it away.
Jeremiah Love being here is crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You think we should just ignore that part of it and pretend like he's not there?
No, I, I don't know. I don't know. I'll let Shane decide, I guess, on this.
Okay.
But I do want to say we're not doing trades, but Brees Hall's contract situation's up in the air. He's still a Jet. I would love, pun intended, to draft Jeremiah Love and trade Brees Hall and grab another pick here because why
Right.
not?
Right.
I think that's an upgrade, just straight up 1-to-1. even though Brees Hall's really good, Jeremiah Love, fantastic prospect. I think it's an upgrade, and you don't have the health concerns and restarting that rookie contract clock. Like that is absolutely if you can get a trade for if you can find a trade partner for Brees Hall and draft Jeremiah Love, I'm absolutely jumping all over that. If I'm going to pretend that's not here, I think going with a pass catcher is a pretty good idea. And I say pass catcher because Kenyon Sadiq is absolutely on my list. I know Mason Taylor was drafted last year, and I think he was a second round draft pick, second or third round draft pick for them. But tight ends are a young quarterback's best friend. And I'm hoping we can draft a young quarterback, maybe not even to start this year, but the next season. Two really good tight ends is going to be good for this team. So that's absolutely on my board. It's a little early for any of the second tier of receivers for me. So whether that's Omar Cooper, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, it's just too early for those guys for me. I do want to look at cornerbacks though. Did any of the corners make it here? No, neither of them went, or both of them went, I guess I should say. Uh, uh, yeah, McCoy and Delane went at 9 and 10, unfortunately. And then I guess, hmm, tackles or any of the D tackles. Yeah, Peter Woods is still there. Okay. I would lean. I mean, obviously, I'm taking Jeremiah Love here if we're gonna do that. If we're not gonna do that, I think I would lean Kenyon Sadiq. Can I see the whole board again? I want to see who else. Vega is absolutely an option here for me too. I think he's a value here at 16, best offensive lineman on the board at the current moment. And I know guard isn't necessarily a big need, but he's absolutely going to be your starting left guard if you draft him. And if you're in like a best player available kind of a mindset, he would be the second best player available, I think. So besides Love. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I would say Love. If we're not doing that, I'm between Sadiq and Vega, depending on if you want fun toys or you want to eat your vegetables.
Austin, we kind of steered around there a little bit, but I basically followed the same pathway you did. So if Jeremiah Love were to fall to this point, and that's always possible, right? I think I would just go ahead and jump on that. And I like your thoughts about trading Brees Hall. And we not only get an upgrade, we get a draft pick, and maybe it even turns into a 27 draft pick. I don't know, but something. So I like that strategy. Part of me kind of sort of wants to pretend like Love is not sitting here. So again, I'll let Shane make that call, whichever way he wants to run that tonight. Getting past that, I went straight to pass catchers. I was like, man, what pass catchers are sitting there? And even though I like Sadiq, I kind of sort of feel like at 33, I should still get a pass catcher I really like. And I've heard guys that talk about this in a way that I don't think is correct. You and me but we have all looked at this draft and we have seen the clusters of receivers sitting at different spots. And at 33, there legitimately should be two or three guys that we like that we can take one. So I think I'm in favor of waiting until 33 on a pass catcher. And I thought about Peter Woods and I'd be happy with it, but I think Vega Iwane is the guy that I would love to stick in here. And I know it's not the biggest need on the team, but I like this guy. I like the mindset he would bring to the Jets. It will continue to build the offensive line that they started 2 or 3 years ago. And they've got a lot of good pieces on that line, but this would continue to strengthen that. So I think that's where I'm going to go. Is Iwane first, Woods second, if we don't do the Jeremiah Love thing. Shane, back to you.
Yeah. So I love where both your brains are at on this. So I think since we're playing the Russian roulette with Jeremiah Love, I'm gonna say this is how the draft plays out. So I think both of you agree you take Jeremiah Love. I think here's where this plays in. If we're in a draft where Jeremiah Love drops, I think we got a chance where Vega is going to be available for us at 33. So if you're telling me that we get the best edge, the best running back, and the best guard in our first 3 picks in a draft, and you're a Jets fan, I don't know how you're not over the moon because you haven't done that in forever. So I think you take Jeremiah Love, and then we're going to play Russian roulette and see if we get a chance to get Vega. As Austin said, I love Kenyon Sadiq. I think in the Jets offense, if you have Mason Taylor and you want to play him as a true tight end, you put Kenyon Sadiq as an out, play him off the split, get him the ball, let him do what he does, and you take some pressure off him as well. You mentioned Woods. I think he's one of those guys. I think he's going to go higher. So he might be one of the guys that helps us to get to Vega, which is what my hope would be off of this. So let's go with Jeremiah Love.
All right, we're doing it. Let's pull the trigger on Jeremiah Love and let it simulate here. What have we done so far? We've added Arvell Reese at number 2 and Jeremiah Love at 16. So let me do a little bit of position shopping here while Austin is getting his thoughts together, or he may already have his thoughts together. Pass catcher, we mentioned that. Boston, Bell, Brazel, all still sitting there along with a group of other guys. At tight end, Delp, Stowers, Claire, Jolly. Let's not look offensive line. Y'all can do that later if y'all want to, for sure. Let's go back to corner, which we had already mentioned before. Cisse, Pons, Johnson. Linebacker, Rodriguez, Hill, Trotter. Another edge if we were interested. And then defensive tackle, McDonald, Hunter, Banks. All right. Austin, we've taken a quick look around, so tell us what you're thinking here.
My brain immediately jumps to Ty Simpson. I think he's absolutely worth taking here. I think that's the pick. If I'm being honest, if I'm going to just give you one, it's going to be Ty Simpson. But I like to give you a couple other options. Cade McDonald's fallen here to us. Tackle's not our biggest need, but we went with Reese earlier, who's not really going to slide in and do much on the interior work. If we went with a Bain, maybe I wouldn't consider McDonald, but Caden McDonald absolutely on my board here. But Braden Cease out of South Carolina is a guy who I'm really a big fan of these days. I think he is absolutely my top corner at this moment on the board. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of my infatuation with Jacob Rodriguez, but if you want a linebacker, I know we already drafted Reese, who's going to be playing some linebacker for us, but if you want a green dot on this team, if you want a new one, Jacob Rodriguez is your guy. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. But again, Ty Simpson being here is just really what Jets fans should be hoping for and should be going with absolutely every single time he's available at this spot.
And just a reminder, we do have a pick at 44. So while some of the guys we covet won't be sitting at 44, we do have some choices here at 44 as well. I like what we can do here at 33. So if we go Ty Simpson, I'm totally fine with it. I totally understand. If we were to pull Caden McDonald and add to the stiffness of that defense to go along with his other teammate who we already picked up, Reese, I'd be totally fine with it. If we pull in Brandon Cisse from South Carolina, done the tape work on him too. I like that as well. So I'm on board with all of that. Jacob Rodriguez, if we want a little bit of an attitude adjustment and a tone setter for this Jets franchise, which they need a whole heck of a lot more of, again, I've already got the athletic freak in Reese, and I pair that with the green dot stuff that Rodriguez brings, along with that crazy mentality. I'm okay with that too. Ultimately, even Emmanuel McNeil-Warren here, safety, I would totally go with. Okay, the aggressiveness on the back end, pair his athleticism with Reese. I love all of that. Now, where I'm probably going to settle in at will be back at pass catcher. So let me pull them back up here for just a second. And specifically wide receiver. So we've got Boston, Bell, Brazel. Boston is probably the safer pick. You've got the size, you've got the polish, you've got good hands. I like Boston. If I want to try to get a home run here, though, it's going to be Chris Brazel for me. He's got that straight line ability, and everything he does is fluid, but he's not a tone setter. As a matter of fact, he might be the opposite of a tone setter. So, that is one major drawback for Chris Brazel. So I'm a little torn here. I'll probably vote for Denzel Boston. I don't think it's a perfect answer, but I'll just so I can have an answer out there, I would say Denzel Boston. I actually like about 7 different directions we could go here. Shane, back to you.
Okay, again, as a GM, I'm extremely happy with what my scouts are coming back with because I fully agree. So I think, as Austin said, I don't think Ty Simpson's going to be available in the actual draft right around this time. I take him as a Jet any day. I think Jacob Rodriguez, you don't walk around like I do with a mustache as I do and not love Jacob Rodriguez. Um, Everything you guys mentioned, he's a fill-in green dot, ready to go. Um, this is a guy that started as a quarterback at Virginia, took no scholarship to go to Texas Tech to be switched to defense, and then did everything for them this year. I think we have a chance for him to fall back. The one thing I will say when you were talking about wide receiver, Ben, I think the Jets have a chance to do something like I think Bryce Lance is the guy that's going to fall to somebody where the league the next year is going to go, whoa, we miscalculated on where we've got this guy. But like I said, I agree with you guys. I think we go Ty Simpson. We have a quarterback ready to go. It takes a lot of pressure off what else we can do with the offense. We, retreaded to get the quarterback that we have. So I think already in fans' minds, this is a stopgap. So let's go get somebody that can do it. I think Ty Simpson, coach's kid, knows what he's doing. I think he's a great fit for the Jets.
All right, let's do it. Ty Simpson will be our third pick. While the computer's processing, let's see what we've done so far. We've added Reese, Love, Simpson. I think Jets fans will really like us for that. But if you're in the audience and you're a Jets fan, you don't like it, feel free to tell us. All right. If there was a guy sitting there that you would rather have had at any of these spots, let us know. I'm sure there's different opinions, but so far, I think most Jets fans would be very happy with what we're getting here. Okay. Pick 44. I'll move around just a little bit. I'm going to go straight to pass catchers first since we haven't landed one yet. So Boston's gone, but Bell and Brazel both still sitting there. And then, there's other receivers here. You mentioned Bryce Lance, Ted Hurst. I love both of those guys. So if we want to play around with it, they're not going to be sitting at 103. But if we want to play around with it, pick one of those guys here or maybe trade around, we could do that. Look at the tight end spot. Delp, Stowers, Claire, Jolly's all still sitting there. I'll go to defense here. We haven't picked up a cornerback yet, right?
Mm-mm.
Let's look at corner here. Wow. Okay. Brandon Cisse is still sitting there. So I think I know what Austin's going to say. We'll give him a chance here in just a second. At safety, Halsey Smith Ramsey. And then I'll go back to defensive tackle real quick here. Hunter Banks Halton. And we already took a linebacker. No, we didn't take a linebacker, but Trotter Golday Lawson. Okay, Austin, take it away, man.
Yeah, so cornerback, absolutely, with between Cisse or Chris Johnson. I have pretty similar grades on them both. Just kind of pick your flavor for those for me. I slightly prefer Cisse, but I do like Chris Johnson a lot too. In terms of receiver, I'm not the biggest Chris Bell guy, and I'm not the biggest Brazel guy either. My options here would either be Jeremy Bernard or Antonio Williams. I think those are two of the more instantly ready receivers in the draft that I think are pretty much out of the box, ready to be used as your wide receiver too. And that's what you want in this case. You've got Garrett Wilson as your primary wide receiver. Jeremy Bernard and Antonio Williams both fantastic at just kind of sitting back, letting whatever they can take and taking it. Bernard, I think, has maybe a slightly lower ceiling than Williams, but Williams, I think, is a very good player. And probably I would say Bernard is my guy here at this pick, him or Cisse. Yeah, One of those two.
All right, I'm going to go pass catcher as well, but I'm going to go with a little bit more athletic, longer types on average. So I would go Brazel, Hurst, Lance. I know that's early for some of those guys. So if we wanted to work out some kind of a trade where we could get, say, at pick 60 and maybe get our choice on, a handful of these guys still, that might be the better move. But I know that's not always sitting there, right? There's not always a team that wants to offer you anything near value. So I'll leave that to whatever Shane wants to do there. But I would say a pass catcher. I would probably go with man, dang it. I would probably go with Bryce Lance, but Hurst for me is very close. And Brazel with that home run ability offers something that really nobody else does out of this group of receivers. So it is worth considering, even though the tone setting is great. On defense, I'll go Chris Johnson. If we don't do a pass catcher, I would say Chris Johnson at cornerback would be my pick. All right, Shane, back to you.
Can you show me what the guards are right now, Ben?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Computer's a little bit sluggish right now, but right there we go.
We did already go guard, by the way. I don't know if you.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for somebody that I think they're putting as guard, but is probably also going to be a center.
A
See,
center, yeah,
I
yeah.
Well,
think
we
I think I
Austin,
think
me and you voted
Jennings.
for guard, but we didn't actually go guard. We
Oh,
went
that's right. I
Jeremiah
forgot.
Love. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
forgot. We went. Yeah.
yeah. The one I was looking for is the guy who's on top. Jennings Dunker
Hmm.
is the one I think he's got an opportunity. You could play him at guard, you could play him at center. Um, I think he gives you attitude. He's going to be a fan favorite. That does matter for the Jets. And it's the one time where I would probably go against you guys. I think this is probably higher for him than what most people would go, but I think that since we've seen the way the draft has gone so far, they've been heavy offensive line. So for me, I would go out for the guard. I think there's wide receiver and defensive back in this draft. I think I can get similar talent in a later round. So for me, I would go Jennings Dunker, and we'll figure it out past that.
All right. So we're going to gamble just a little bit, which is a move I think I did with you last week, Austin. I think I did the same type of thing with a different team at a different position. We're going to gamble a little bit on wide receiver and CB because it is deep at both groups. And we're going to grab Jennings Dunker here at 44. All right. It'll take just a minute for the simulator to run. We're going to do one more pick tonight. Pick 103 is as far as we'll get. So far, we've got Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Love, Ty Simpson, Jennings Dunker. So far, we've added 3 guys to the offensive side, 1 guy to the defensive side. And sorry, computer's been a little bit sluggish, but it will run through. So, Shane, before we even get there, tell us what you're hoping might be sitting there.
I mean, like you guys have already talked about, I think this is now where you make your. Uh, the thing is, as much as I pick on the Jets about the not having interceptions, a lot of that has to do with not having a pass rush and not having anything else. So, do you say that the corners are the worst thing? You see corners coming off the draft board as this runs. Um, for me, I think it's either corner or wide receiver, and I think we'll have some options open when we get to it.
Yeah, I agree because, and again, the computer's been slow. It will eventually get there. I agree. Wide receiver corner, both deep pools. I feel like wide receiver's a little deeper with the guys that I like, but I feel like somebody's going to be sitting there at one of those spots, somebody that we actually do like. So we'll get to that here in just a second. Austin, any thoughts here on the Jets while we're waiting on my computer?
I really liked our draft so far. I going back to the guard pick of last round, I do think that's good. I kind of forgot that we did pull the trigger on Love and are playing it out as if he was available, which I think is honestly a great experiment to do because that's the point of doing mock drafts is let the things that you don't expect happen and see how it can can shake out and the butterfly effect of that kind of thing. I do like the pick. I think Jennings Dunker can play literally anywhere on the offensive line, and I think that's just something that a team like the Jets can use. A team that is just looking to get better in all facets of the game, as you mentioned before we got started. And then as for this next pick, I think we're going back to the well with this one. I think I'm imagining Brennan Thompson's going to be there, and he's going to instantly be selected by all of us because for some reason the mock draft sites just have like a 2 round like hit on him for some reason. Like this guy is going to go in the second round of the real draft. If not the second, very early third, but it seems like we're able to get him in the fourth every single time we want to have him. So I have a feeling that's where we're going to go here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, and we're about 20 picks away here, so we'll get to it in just a second. When I'm talking about the New York Jets, hey, y'all mentioned with Jennings Dunker being an instant fan favorite, Shane. I do feel like the Jets could use some fan favorites because the Giants are sitting over here with guys that they've fallen in love with, Giants fans. They're super excited about those guys, even though they aren't necessarily elite talents. They're good enough talents that the fans have just instantly fallen in love with. Adding Jennings Dunker to a Jets fan base, you're right. Any fan base is going to instantly love him, but a Jets fan base that has often had the dysfunction and just kind of the lack of direction or frequent change of direction, it has been going on for a very long time. So when you can add in those players that have that kind of personality, Shane, it does make it a lot better, a lot more fun to root, even if you're not heading to Super Bowls, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me talk about what's still sitting here. See if I can click over to the wide receivers and see what's actually gone. We're at pick 87 right now. Jalen Kilgore is off the board. Justin Jolly is off the board. Zachariah Branch still sitting there from Georgia. Elijah Surratt still sitting there from Indiana. You mentioned Brennan Thompson from Mississippi State still sitting there. Will Lee goes off the board as a cornerback spot.
Surratt being available here is a little surprising to me too.
Yeah, I agree because I think some wide receiver is going to be sitting there, and it's probably going to be somebody that people like, right? There's enough wide
Mhm.
receivers that somebody will be sitting there that people like. But which receiver will it be? Would it be Surratt or would it be one of the other guys? We'll find out. We're 5 picks away. Apologies to the audience here. The computer doesn't usually get this slow on me, but it is tonight. So we're just 5 picks away there. Emmett Johnson goes to the Seahawks here,
That's
helping
a
their
great pick for them, by the way. Just
running back
Emmett
need.
Johnson at
Yes.
pick 100's a dream for Seahawks fans.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
agreed. Shelton fixing the Titans O line. Zachariah Branch goes off the pick before us. I don't know how any of y'all felt about that. And now it is our pick. So let me just start with wide receiver here. I'll see what's sitting there. Obviously, Surratt is still sitting there. Brennan Thompson, Malachi Fields, that's what's sitting there. And then I'll go to cornerback here. All right, Austin, you've seen this wide receiver group. I'm going to click over on the cornerbacks. Go ahead and talk us through what you're thinking here.
Yeah, so there's only 3 names I'm considering here, and it's going to be Malik Muhammad, who I'm a big fan of. I feel like he's another guy that shows up in our mock drafts a lot in these rounds because I think we're
Yeah.
just all higher on his upside than consensus. And then it's the 2 names I mentioned earlier. It's Brendan Thompson and Elijah Surratt. All 3 of those guys are values here. Very different players. Cornerback for one, 2 receivers on the other, and the 2 receivers are about as polar opposite as you get in this
Mm-hmm.
draft class. So it just kind of pick your flavor if you want the receivers. Personally, for the Jets, I would prefer Thompson, although they've got AD Mitchell, who is a burner, but kind of having that speed to really stretch the field and allow a guy like Wilson to work underneath would be truly awesome because Wilson's so good with the ball in his hands. And if I'm stretching the field and letting him work underneath more, that's great. But a guy like Surratt is a big possession type guy, and AD Mitchell is already a pretty nice like home run hitter type of receiver. Not the most reliable, and Surratt definitely adds a whole lot of reliability to your wide receiver room. So I don't think you can go wrong with either of those two guys at receiver or Malik Muhammad at corner.
All right, I'm going to land very close to Austin here. If we're going receiver, I'm pulling Elijah Surratt because I just think he's an all-around good receiver to work with as a professional. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on Malik Muhammad, cornerback. I like the athleticism. I think that would really help out the Jets defense. I will point out when it comes to corners here, I think there's a cluster of them that I would be happy working with somewhere in this range. If you want the height, it's Takario Davis. If you want more of the cover, it's Hezekiah Massis. I like him as well. So it's a decent group of corners to get to pick from here in the early fourth round. Wide receiver would be Surratt, but I'm going to go with Malik Muhammad, cornerback from Texas. Shane, back to you.
Could you show me defensive tackles, Ben?
I will try. See if my computer will allow this. All right, we've got Daryl Jackson and Caleb Proctor. Proctor's a guy I did film work on just last week. If we want to create some inside pressure on a rotational basis, I really like Proctor out of Southeast Louisiana. I don't think he's big enough to get the rotation snaps, but I mean the starter snaps, but I do like his rotation work. So Shane, that's the defensive tackle group there.
Okay, so for me, really, I just wanted an opportunity to circle Landon Robinson again. Any chance I get in a draft one, I want his name out there as much as possible. But in complete honesty, I agree with you and Austin on all counts. I think it's Mohammed is the pick we make here. I agree on all the points on wide receivers. I think Surratt is the more complete one. I think Thompson, though, eh, Austin mentioned it. It seems like every single time the draft comes up to us, he's available, and you have to say no more than you say yes to him being there. Uh, elite speed. If you're the Jets and you just want to be able to say, let's see how far Ty Simpson can throw the ball, why wouldn't you make that move? Problem is, we need to cover people, and we've got young quarterbacks in our league that love to throw it around. So I think you go Malik Muhammad. Um, I also do think that, like Austin mentioned, I think he is high above what this has him rated as, and I think that'll show through this first season for him.
All right, let's do it. Let's add Malik Muhammad here, and that'll be a wrap for us tonight. So we got Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Love dropped to us. We went ahead and jumped on that. We added in a quarterback with Ty Simpson. We added in Jennings Dunker, the guard from Iowa, to help us out on the interior of the offensive line. And then we added the athletic Malik Muhammad cover corner out of Texas there. So, Austin, real quick final thoughts, and we're done, man.
Yeah, you cannot just picture a better draft class if you're the Jets than getting Jeremiah Love and Ty Simpson with 16 and 33. If that happens, you can take whoever you want after that. And as long as you didn't like go grab a crazy guy at number two and you just take one of those the guys we talked about, it doesn't matter which one of them. If you can get whichever one of those guys at two, Love at 16, Ty Simpson at 33, you can literally not just let the rest of the draft go by and not even turn in your picks because you're celebrating. I think that's what might happen is the front office might be partying so hard they forget to set their alarms and miss the rest of the draft if that's how it goes. So considering that's what happens, and then we were able to grab some guys we liked with the next picks, you're a great class just got even greater. So yeah, this is a almost a dream scenario, other than not getting a pass catcher. That's the only thing. But there's just a lot of positions that need to be helped. This is you're not instantly turning this team into a complete
Mhm.
roster in just one draft.
All right. Austin, great work. Shane, great work as general manager for the evening. Everybody watching, thank you so much. And thanks to both of you. We've gone extra deep tonight, extra late. So appreciate you both hanging around for the extra work. Have a great one. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.